I'm standing in the area here. We call this place here Veteran Memorial Drive. This area here was actually named for the U.S. Virgin Island veterans who actually served in the Marine, served in the Navy, served in the Air Force, served in the Coast Guard, served in the Army, all branches of the United States military. So they dedicated this plaque here, this pyramid here, to the veterans, and they placed it right on the brinks of what we call Veteran Memorial Drive. This highway itself here goes from here all the way down to Frenchtown, and it's symbolic of what the Virgin Island culture was about. The Virgin Island has beautiful entire culture. And we're talking about the Renaissance. The Renaissance was, New York had its Renaissance. The Renaissance in New York was in Harlem. The Renaissance in Chicago was actually we call South Side and West Side. The Renaissance in DC was Q Street, 14th and 13th Street. But the places that we call the Renaissance in St. Thomas were actually Savane. Savane was a Renaissance where most people had to shop, to store, and it was a middle class of what we call emancipation, Afrocentric Virgin Islanders who choose Savane to be part of their home base. So if you ever get an opportunity to go to Savane, go to Savane. So, but what's unique about it, those places encompass places like Up Street, Down Street, Round the Field, Contan, Mahogany Estate, and later on they incorporated places like Garden Street and Up the Hill. So these places actually are symbolic of what actually transpired in the Virgin Islands during the heyday of St. Thomas emerging as a popular place. It started from the 60s all the way up until the 80s. That's what I consider the Renaissance for emerging civilization, which was Afrocentric. People were coming in and making a particular area their places of survival. Stores, shopping, their own, everything was what they had in place. So I'm standing here at the brinks of our dedication as a veteran and I shift my camera to the legislature building over there, and then later on I go over to the Emancipation Garden where it all started. This is where it all started right here. It's called the legislature building in a crest right there. Yeah, this is where it all started after emancipation of the Danish and transformation of the island from the Danish to the America in 1917. They established their own headquarters, their own Capitol building right there, Virgin Island. So this is symbolic of what all emerged, come together. But it also started in Emancipation Garden over there that I'm going to do a piece later on to show you where these Afrocentric people under the Danish rule actually received their freedom. So I'm going to go over there right now and do that piece. Yeah, this is where it all started here, with the emancipation of the Afrocentric under the Danish rule. The bell down in the corner was actually the symbol that was rang, allowing the Afrocentric under Danish rule of emancipation. The conch shell here in the midst right here is a symbolic of resistance, the conch shell and the machete that allowed the Afrocentric to expedite their emancipation because they had clashes with the occupiers. So this is where it all started, right here in some place called Emancipation Garden on St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Island. But one of the major uprisings was in a place called St. Croix, with a young lady named Queen Mary and a band of warriors that actually helped to liberate most of the Afrocentric who was in the island, and then St. John, and then Bodo and St. Thomas was another part of it. But this is where it all started, right here, when it comes to emancipation. This conch shell here and this machete here is symbolic of the message that went out through conch shell, because there was no telegram, but they had a conch shell and they had a machete or the cane weapon. So they used that actually to establish the freedom, expedite the freedom. So this thing here represents freedom for the Afrocentric people underneath of what we call the Danish rule. So again, this symbol is what represents here in the Emancipation Garden. On my far left over there will be the bell that actually is symbolic of the first landing of the settlers, which was the English that came here. And then this bell here was erected to let the Afrocentric know that there was actually what we call emancipated. This bell here is symbolic for most Afrocentric Virgin Islanders. This is where they actually started, and they got the freedom by the ringing of this bell after there was emancipation, with a revolution that was fought with a machete and a conch shell depicted in the statue back there. But this bell here was rang by the Danish occupiers, letting the enslaved Virgin Islanders know they was free. But something strange about it in this depiction here, they said the landing of the Virginia settlers. Virginia settlers, I always thought it was in Virginia, but it said here in the Virgin Island, they landed on the 4th of April, 1607 for a stay of 3 days. So the English actually came here, a company of 144 Englishmen bound for Virginia on the 13th of May, 1607. That same group found at Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent settlement beyond the British Isle. From that colony grew the overseas expansion of the English-speaking people, the Commonwealth of Virginia, the United States of America, and the British Commonwealth of a nation and a realm overseas. So this symbol here not only represents emancipation of the enslaved Afrocentric people in the Virgin Islands, but also marking a point where the first English settlers came here on this tiny island called U.S. Virgin Island. So it's always nice to know that you can have the history of where you stand and what it represents as a people here in these America. Today is a booming society. It's a very much advanced tourism port. St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix in the British Virgin Islands. But all of this here was actually forest. Today is symbolized as a tourist trap. And that's what makes it unique, because it's a tourist trap today. So we are actually being part of this whole mechanism called St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Island. Are you a St. Thomas veteran? Huh? Are you a Virgin Island veteran?
Of course.
You are?
No.
Oh, because I'm doing a story of St. Thomas veterans.
Oh, okay.
So you're not one?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. That would have been nice, because we have he was in a desert storm.
For the desert storm, okay. Yeah.
Desert storm under Saddam. When they overthrew Saddam, right?
Yeah, what a God for.
Yeah, the first one was when Saddam went into Kuwait. And then Bush, the father, stopped him, right? And later on, Bush, the son, who became president, overthrew him.
Okay.
So the guy who you went to school with, he was in that first Gulf War, correct? And he went to school with you, and he was in what branch?
The army.
He was in the army. Green Beret?
I forget. But he tell me he's a fixed army tank and thing and
Okay. So he made it a career? Like saying for 20 years?
The war or something. I know how long it lasts. When he come out, he tell me he killed so much man. When he tell me he tell me he ended up killing a lot of man.
Yeah, in the army. I see. I was in Navy, right? But in the Navy, I didn't have the hand-to-hand combat because I'm on a ship. I'm an engineer, so I prepare the propulsion, the engine, and manage the electrical part of it, right? Like Whopper. But my job wasn't involved in any literal battle. See? But I still was in the military because every one of them play a role, right? The first person to take the hill is most of the time is the Marine, right? And then the Army comes in later, right? And after victory, then the Air Force come in and they start building stuff.
Okay.
But the Navy bombard the shoreline first, and then they send the Marine in. And after the Marine take control of the land, then the Army come in and keep and control it, and then the Air Force start building structures. That's how it's set up. See? So each one of them play a role. The people who do the grunt of the fighting is the Army and the Marine, and I don't want to go in none of them.
Yeah.
You understand? So I give most of the guys, I give those guys credit that did it. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't my cup of tea. I just want to see the world. You know what I'm saying? I just want to travel. Yeah. How was the slave was able to win the freedom?
Slaves.
Yeah, in St. Thomas.
I got a resort like 3 again. I know in St. Croix go between Bodo, and General Bodo. It's what it is help. The children and the teacher in school, but I forget how it went on.
Okay, well, the conch shell and the cane machete. All the time, brothers was armed, but they didn't realize it. They was actually using an arm to do what? Cut sugar cane. But it was a weapon.
Yeah.
So eventually they turn the weapon, they turn it into a weapon to liberate themselves. And they use the conch shell as a communication to send a verbal message to the rest of the people in a faraway area. Then they had telegram, so they use a conch shell.
If you use the drums and
yeah.
So it's certain slaves had know how to use the drums from before they bring them over in Africa.
Of course, right.
They hand it down to their children secretly.
Right.
So when certain slave rebellions, they were planning slave rebellions, they would be a drum and they would communicate to other slaves and other plantations and things to
correct, right.
They would teach their children that secretly,
Right.
Yeah. Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah, because all of them had a different language. See? That's what it was intentionally done that way, right?
Yeah, but
so if you can't,
used to communicate them into one language.
Right, and the conch shell also did it.
Okay.
The conch shell unite them.
Yeah.
So they had an uprising in Bordeaux, correct? St. Thomas, right? His name was General Bordeaux.
In St. Croix. With Queen Mary too, but
Queen Mary is the one who actually burned down the plantation.
Yeah, but they end up hanging a witch and thing.
No, they end up burning the woman at the stake.
Yeah, that's what I tell you, hang on, burning at the stake and call her witch.
Yeah, call her witch for liberating her people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but they always do that, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
When you fight for your freedom, they call you guerrilla.
Yeah,
They call you.
For Kenya thing, they used to find this one of the woman and man calling them witch and sorcerer and all kinds of things because what they are not from Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
See, but one day, like the drums and all them things in Haiti, they use a drum as voodoo.
Right, right.
Drum. How they come.
Religion. Religion.
Yeah, and they say, a brother telling me before, Tucson went to any battle.
Yeah.
He used to go every day. He used to wake up and go to the high priest.
Yeah, yeah.
And ask him if today that go there to fight. And his high priest was telling him if today that go
Yeah.
or not to fight.
Right, right.
See?
So he was a commander to Saint Labature in Haiti, and he whipped the French twice, not once but twice. You know that, right?
Well, a trick they pull on him.
Yeah, yeah.
Them to go out with something and they jail him or something like that.
Yeah, at the end, they jailed him and took him to some part of southern France, and that's where he died in exile. Because he was so powerful.
Yeah, I see him, the thing about him. He was even more powerful than Napoleon when Napoleon finally.
Oh, he beat Napoleon.
Yeah.
He whipped Napoleon.
A brother tell me who was a brother from me who was going to a march in Haiti at the time when they get an annual march.
Yeah.
He tell me that they had just invented a machine gun and they were killing black man by thousands a day, right? And when they heard about the revolution in Haiti, Napoleon decided he was going to win back the same, but they might have.
He was surprised.
Yeah.
He was surprised because he thought they had an inferior army.
Yeah, because they say when it happened, they say a little island like that, how they could have get over such a, you know what I mean? Man like Napoleon, you know?
Yeah.
They were afraid, but I mean, Toussaint was like that comes to natural instincts to be a guerrilla warfare soldier, you know?
Right, right.
And he teach a lot of his other slaves or rebel with him how to.
Yeah, he fought a guerrilla war.
Yeah.
That's what Toussaint fought. He didn't fight that war in Napoleon when you line up and then you charge and then you pump your gun. He fought a guerrilla war, and a guerrilla war hit and run. That's how Vietnam beat the United States, right? They fought a guerrilla war. See, that's how people in North Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, that's how they whipped the United States. We had all the power, right? But they fought a guerrilla war. They had tunnel underneath the ground. We think we was bombing, we think we had them in submission. But if you read the story, they make you, the Vietnamese made America think they was winning. And when they convinced it was winning, then they kind of like let loose in them. And then they marched into Saigon and took Saigon, and they had to run. You understand? They had to run out of there, and that's how the war ended. See, that's how that ended. But
I didn't know the fullness. I didn't know about it on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they had underground tunnels, and the guy, no matter what bomb they used, they were so deep underneath the ground they couldn't touch them, and they didn't know that was
I
there.
didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's how it was. That's how they beat them.
About Hiroshima.
Hiroshima is Japan.
Oh, they dropped them the atomic bomb.
And Japan, the United States dropped that on Japan.
Okay, but Vietnam, what was in Vietnam? What they call the place? The Vietnam. Wow.
It's a different angle of the fort. I think that's what we call the eastern corner of the fort, facing the harbor, going towards Havenside Mall. And as you can see, it's still standing from way back in the 1600s. It was established here. Today is a museum depicting the history of the Danish occupation here on these grounds here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's quite a magnificent area. You need to come and see it for yourself, because it's one of those places that you want to be in have in your archive. This is Central Square in the U.S. Virgin Islands, called the post office here, downtown Charlotte, Mali. Back in the day, it's Arturo named after Arturo, the logo. Anyway, this would be the central place where you come and connect with your friends back in the 60s and the 70s. Today it's like a tourist trap, it still was, but you don't see any locals traversing the street like we used to back in the day. But this has to be the central part of our activity before we launch into some place called Main Street, Center Theater, and places like that. But this is what the central area look like here today, the day after the storm here on St. Thomas. It's nice and clean and fresh. I'm standing on the Grand Hotel steps here in downtown Charlotte, Mali. But again, like I said, this is calm and peaceful. Up on the hill is Fireburn Hill, the Danish consulate. So all of this is a remnant of the Virgin Islands itself, where we used to come and hang out and do your thing. Today is not as crowded as it used to be. Yeah, this is another view. Emancipation Garden here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Everybody is supposed to be home, but as a reporter, I'm out capturing the essence of what's happening here and doing Emancipation Garden here, U.S. Virgin Islands, the day after the storm. Shooting these pictures in Emancipation Garden with Aaron. There's a Lutheran church here, Anglican Lutheran church, where most of the aristocrats and slave masters used to worship here. It's connected with the Church of England here in the Virgin Islands. But anyway, this is what we call the Lutheran church here on St. Thomas. It's quite a different place now, but this is where all the aristocrats, slave owners used to come and worship. After you went?
All I can tell you from Denmark, anybody that is black that carry that name is from white ancestors.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you.
Slave master name.
Huh?
Slave master name.
Yeah, well, yes, the slave master name.
Okay.
And intersection fair.
Okay.
So a lot of the, like my friend who lived here, Holton,
Okay.
that's a Dutch name.
Okay.
You see, so when you hear his name, a lot of that come through when the Danes or the Dutch were in the islands. They had the maids, etc., against sexual affair, and then they carry the name. Some of them carry a different sexual name, but where they come from, that part of Africa, they dropped that. But anytime you hear those names, we shelter, things like that, those are European, all the way. Don't nobody fooled you with that.
Okay, what about shelter brand?
All of them, all of that.
What? What are they?
They're Danish, the Danish names.
Okay.
So, what I'm trying to say is like, you'll ask how they get those names. I could tell you, quoting there's a gentleman that comes on with a show now that about ancestors, family affair. and you go back as far as the slave business. A lot of those names came from your slave master.
Correct.
Having
Like in
sex.
America. Right, right.
Not just America, but having sex. Having sex. Let me pull on the side there because I got something.
Okay, go ahead. Accessory. So, how was the Bushelter clan formed?
Well, I can't tell you, but I'm saying everything is connected with Europe. Anytime you hear the name, you can't go to Africa and find it. Because they a lot of people are mixed with the Spaniard, excuse me, with the Spanish, Spain, that took over several places. They did the same thing with religion, and they did the same thing with name. How are you?
Okay.
Names that are suitable for them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then you had the British that gave you Henry, Austin, Peter, Hammer, this, that, and so all those names. So if your ancestry, if you was to check that back, then you'd be having a different name.
Yeah, correct. Because
I
the
got
whole concept was to erase our name,
Exactly.
original name.
Exactly.
But you know how, I'm gonna tell you how the Bushelter clan started, right? Because my aunt, right, Aunt Olive Shinnery, was married to a guy named Pascal, and his brother named Louis Simeon, and his sister was Annie Simeon, right? And she was a black French Haitian woman, right? Their father was a guy named Black Pay. And they married one of the Bushelter fathers, right? And they started the Bushelter clan.
There you go. But
yeah.
again,
Yeah.
the original name still wind up.
It came from Germany.
All right.
The original Bushelter was Germany. And you know one thing I found out? Because I keep repeating this because I was surprised, right? I went to the French Museum, right? And I saw this man, Afrocentric. I'm using the word Afrocentric. I don't use the word Afro-American anymore. I use Afrocentric, right? Which means anyone with an Afro, with a black heritage, right?
Yeah.
I call them Afrocentric, right? No matter where they are in the world, right? And I saw this man called Joe Sibley in the image of an Afrocentric. So I said to the lady, Afrocentric, why you have this man in a black picture? She said, Joe Sibley is a black man. And all these years, I grew up here from the time I was 17, right? And I never knew Sibley was a black man. You understand? I never knew that until I saw the picture in the French Museum.
The Sibylle, that with Louis and their father,
Yeah.
which lives above here. He
Yeah.
was what we call a mulatto, which is black.
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Again, where the name come from is either Germany or one of those foreign countries that people wind up with that name, and as time goes by, they pass it on to their family.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what I got to run because I got something.
Okay. All right, man.